Welcome to Flesh and Pod, a flesh and blood podcast breaking down weekly news and notes from the tournament scene, community drama, game strategy, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Abby, Jordan, and Logan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of Flesh and Pod. My name is Abby, and I am your host. With me are Logan and Jordan, as always. So let's get started. Logan, what did you do in Flesh and Blood this week?
That hello still warms the cockles, and granted, it's been the cockles, not what you're thinking.
Do you mean like the edible marine bivalve mollusk?
Sure.
I had to Google it. I didn't know what that was. Or do you mean a small shallow boat?
A small shallow boat. Yes.
Okay.
That's where we're going with that one. But this past week, we drafted some Welcome to Wraith locally. That was interesting because it was only a 4-player draft, but somehow, some way, all 4 players psyched themselves into thinking that everybody else was going Bravo, and literally nobody drafted Bravo. Yeah. We also did some degeneracy where I popped a box of Welcome to Wraith and opened an extra Scab Skin Scalers. So I was like, yeah, cool, open the Legendary. And then one was open in the draft as well. So, just casual ripping legendaries nationwide, but Iowa wide. But it was wild with 2 Reinars, a Dorinthia, and me playing Katsu. So it was the weirdest draft because in Welcome to Wraith draft, usually it's Bravo as the dominant force. In this case, everybody was just like, everybody else is going to be taking Bravo. I'm off it. That was dumb.
That's crazy. I'm excited to talk more Welcome to Wraith draft as we get into that season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I have never done that. And we had Blitz Monkey was in the Discord asking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I should really look into that draft format because I'm going to do 30 drafts here in the next 2 months.
Right.
Yeah, I should have a clue. As for me, I played, is this the same week? Time has no meaning over the holidays. Yeah, it's the same week. I played a armory event on Tuesday, and it was just a 4-person armory event. I think the holidays kind of scared everybody away. Omicron's kind of, with the holidays coming up, people wanted to take a break. But I went 1-1 in that. I played Red Line Briar, which was really fun. First time playing that in a competitive event. Lost to Chain.
That'll happen.
Yeah, Chain is really fun to play against. And it's challenging. I defeated Viscerai. The game kind of came down to a couple of turns where this game is hard, and sometimes you just think you have action points and don't. Right. And some combo turns are crazy. And Viscerai, is scary because there was one turn where my opponent and I were talking, and it was I felt really good, and then the next turn I took 16.
Yeah,
and was I am losing now. Viscerai be spooky.
That's how that works. Yeah,
yeah. And Nick plays it really well, and so it was really fun to kind of see the deck just all of a sudden have no tokens and then 15 of them, and then you're oh yeah, and I have to block.
Right.
So that was fun. I got a bauble out of it. They're going to be the baubles for my cube. I think I've mentioned that before. So I'm excited about starting to get those going. But that's it. Ab, did you get into any Flesh and Blood activity this week?
So I just want to make it clear to our friends and avid listeners that while this is the 3rd week in a row that I have not done anything Flesh and Blood related, I have in fact played this game. It might not seem like it, but no, I did not. Jordan and I were out of town for Christmas. We went to my second favorite place in the world and had a wonderful weekend. And I did not do anything Flesh and Blood related at all. So maybe this week. Fingers crossed.
You did get to consume some of Jordan's tears, though.
I did. I did.
There were many tears. To not vague tweet, we went to the Browns-Packers game on Christmas Day in Green Bay. So if you're not a football fan, that will mean 0 to you. If you are
a football fan, yes, you will quickly realize who likes who in this family.
There's a whole lot of if you know, you know in
Right.
in
Right.
that entire sentence. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that last bit was the biggest. If you know, you know. If you don't, well, hit the 15 seconds button on your podcast player.
Right.
But no, the holiday was good for us. I think, and I think we're excited about playing more Flesh and Blood.
Yes, after we get out of this holiday season, that will be something that I will actually start to get to do, hopefully. So maybe next week we all come back and listen.
We're a month out from the Farewell to Wraith events. Is that right?
We are. I think our first one on the calendar is the 28th of January. So we are about a month out. Yeah, we're recording this on the 27th of January or December. So about a month. Yeah.
Perfect. Let's get it.
Exactly. Plenty of time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Wow. I have 3 that weekend. Holy hell.
You have 3?
Yeah, we're one on Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. Holy cow.
So are you trying to tell me that I'm just coming to Columbus for that weekend?
They are all sold out, but you are more than welcome to come to Columbus.
Sold out.
If you just want to drive around the state with me and watch me play Flesh and Blood.
I mean, that'd be entertaining in and of itself, but
the weekend after my birthday, I will only be playing one of those events, so we can just go get drunk or something.
Yes, we can. that is an option. But yeah, like that just sounds like an awesome weekend. I mean, in Iowa, we're still there's a lot of things trying to get figured out. So, but that does sound like an awesome weekend, to be honest. I'm
pretty excited. Yeah, hopefully, like we don't get locked down from COVID again. If it's necessary, it's necessary, obviously. But there's a lot of good Flesh and Blood coming up, so I'm hoping that the world can keep itself together for just a little bit,
or shut it down now, so that it's we're back to shut it down for 2 weeks again, and then we have time to be ready for those events. Maybe we won't. I'm sure we won't shut down, but
now we're past that.
Ohio did it once, which is more than most of Ohio wanted, so I doubt we do it again.
Yeah, well, that's most of America, it seems.
So before we really get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, we just want to share our thanks again. Our Discord is off the chain. It's constantly going off. I've loosened my office hours to try and be available more because of how active it is. We love it. We're looking at additional ways to kind of grow and engage while keeping everybody, keep talking to everybody. So thanks for your support. Keep telling us what we're doing great, what we're not good at. Just keep it honest with us, and we will continue to grow. And we appreciate everyone who's been here so far.
Yeah, like for me, it's, I'm not really great at pronouncing certain words. For Jordan, he's not great at telling the truth. I mean, there's a whole lot to work on, honestly.
Lying is brutal.
Right. I mean, that has to happen sometimes where you're just kind of like, hey, I think it's this. No, it's not. Well, like me today, I thought we were recording at 5:30. No, you fucking idiot. It's 3:30. Oh, right. Time zones. Those are a thing.
It was always bound to happen.
It was going to happen.
Yeah.
And obviously it was going to be me that fucked the donkey. And that donkey is proper fucked at this point.
Us.
Keeping up with the current holiday tradition, though, we did get a Christmas spoiler from LSS. We got a nice, pretty letter, but more importantly, we got a card spoiler. The card is This Round's on Me. It's a blue that costs 1. And then it's each hero draws a card until the start of your next turn. Attacks that target you have -1 attack, and then go again.
More importantly, it is a blue that blocks for 3.
Yeah, blocking for 3 is juicy for the decks. The decks that want this get a lot out of this card.
So I want to really hammer on a couple of quick points on this card, if you don't mind. May I cook?
Yeah, you may.
So, first off, it's the best name of a card that we could possibly have. That's just a wonderful sentiment to pass to your opponent while you nerf their turn. Second, can we just have a quick discussion on how gigantic that tanker that Oldham is holding is? Because that is some booze.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's as big as Briar's head.
Right. And it might actually be as big as Lexi's head and Briar's head combined, but it's because it's becoming more and more evident that Oldham is my spirit animal, and I should probably be shifting everything I do to just be more of an Oldham player, because that's my size of beer. Like that's what I want to be doing, is consuming that giant fucking tankard while just like peering through a circus tent with some idiot on a lute and people just being crazy. I want to draw those cards. I want to go again. And by go again, I want to slam that mug down and just scream another at the top of my lungs. Like, this is my type of shit right here.
That is very emblematic of you as a human being.
Yep.
And I think this art does a good job of. I mean, the art's awesome. The card's whatever. Like, the card's playable. It's fine. I'll have a playset, but the art is 10 out of 10. I would want this on my wall.
Absolutely.
Now, here's the real question. Is the bard in the card the hero?
Like a hero that they're going to have?
So last episode, Logan said one of the things that he was hoping for was a hero that was a bard. And in the artwork, out of the 5 characters in it, 4 of them are like, I feel like more detailed than like the one random guy who's kind of in the back. And so that's my question: is this a hero that we're getting in Everfest? Is this the bard?
I think this is my guy. I really do. And also, there are 6 characters in this art.
Yeah, there are 6 people. If you look on the right side, there's a shadowy figure.
Oh, there's an elbow. You are right.
There's some shadowy fuck is over there, and he may be on the up and up, but I can't see him drinking with everybody else. So he is a person of suspicion to me. But I believe that this is our bard. I believe this is our guy. He looks merry. He's got himself a lute. He's definitely playing to the crowd. So I think this is my guy right here.
So is this the guy that just brings his guitar out at parties that no one actually wants to hear, or are these people actually enjoying this? Like,
No,
are Briar and Lexi having fun despite the bard, or is the bard increasing the fun?
This isn't this idiot playing the song about a ham sandwich and Animal House on the stairs, vague reference, but this is Yaskir playing to a crowd. This is a welcome bard, and everybody's into it. Even Oldham's raising a cup, and he always looks pissy. So we're going to think that this is our guy, and he is well respected and well loved.
All right, I can get behind that. I could support well loved musicians.
As soon as I saw the card, I was like, "That's the bard." I felt it.
Yeah,
I felt it in my bones.
I have literally said the exact words that are the flavor text of this card any number of times, and felt them to my bones when I said it. So this is where I want to be in a lot of different things. A blue that blocks 3 is a non-attack action with go again. That can give you more gas. Granted, it can give your opponent a bigger turn in a 1v1 setting. It also, but on the same token, it does nerf their attacks. So against a Katsu or a Briar or whatever, it can do a lot. The other thing about this is definitely a PvE card. Full stop. This is good enough to get played in competitive constructed, but this is a PvE card. And I think that's where the lean in is here, is we're going to see a lot of these type of PvE things.
I don't think we've talked about that on here before. Do you want to give a quick hit on on the PvE aspect of this game?
Yeah, they kind of don't exist yet officially, but it's been stated. I wish I could point to an article, but it's pseudo-apocryphal. From my point of view, I think I've just read one thing on it, and it wasn't on the mothership website for Flesh and Blood. But it's player versus environment PvE. So you're a group of players that are going against a common enemy rather than facing off against each other. So anything that could benefit the group, aka everybody drawing cards, really plays into the PvE aspect. Coaxic Commotion comes to mind, where it's that card is beneficial to everybody, and that's where it feels like that card belongs, as well as this card and even the what the hell was it? The Crazy Brood card, where if you pitch a Crazy Brood, you do other things.
Yep.
All these
everybody
things.
draws a card. And,
Yeah, so I'm starting to really feel like we're going to end up in a spot where our extra Majestics in this set are going to be these types of PvE-ish type cards, a mixture of the PvE-ish type cards and reprints. So I like it. And if they make them like this, they balance them that where they're playable also and constructed. That's just gravy. Like this is awesome. This card looks fun as hell to me.
Yeah, I'm excited about playing with this. This could be a fun. Like, I mean, it's a Majestic, so you're not going to see it in draft a ton, but it's kind of a fun draft card too. And then like I said, as the Guardian player, I am excited for the Prism tech. So
that's fair.
Yeah, I'm definitely. The more that come out, the more excited I am for Everfest release to be here.
Oh wait, I said draft with Everfest. You're not going to draft the set.
Never once.
Nope. Never mind.
God, what's wrong with you?
Small brain.
Correction corner.
Yeah, right. I guess in theory you could do this with like the shapeshifter format.
Yeah.
And that might work okay. But again, you're not going to be drafting this in any kind of competitive environment, sadly.
Yeah. It's a downer, but makes sense too. I'm excited for this setting up our next chapter of Flesh and Blood.
Yes. So speaking of next chapter, our Reddit thread of the week is from used-aspect 9845. The thread talks about what we want from LSS for Flesh and Blood this year. So kind of what is your Christmas list? What are you hoping to see? Jordan, you want to start with your hopes for 2022?
Sure. I am not. It's funny. I do the show notes and pulled this thread and have not really came to a good answer, despite having thought about this the longest, probably. Outside of beating the give me more organized play news to death, I think that I just want more cost efficient reprints. For like, I mean, by cost efficient, I mean like real world money. Like give me expensive cards as reprints, and let people get into the game in that angle a little bit better. Like or just give me like, you know, suitable playable cards that are similar, that aren't necessarily as expensive or maybe outside of the legendary slot. The other thing that comes to mind is maybe I don't know how this would impact everything else, but I would like to see them shift away from doing this first edition first bit, and letting like players actually get the unlimited cards in their hand at a cost efficient price point while they're relevant. That would be a wish list for me.
Yeah, I think that. So thinking through that just for a second with the cost efficiency in first edition and how this all works out. First edition really seemed like early on it was a way to get to impress collectability very easily. And now people are almost seem like they have their sets of everything in first edition and unlimited sits there. And that makes it feel a little less special. Now, caveat, we are still in the virtual infancy of this game. So what feels not special on December 27th of 2021 might feel ultra special on December 27th of 2023. We don't know. What we do know is that in the current day, it is not sustainable as far as how you want to make these feel special. So I guess one of my wish list items would be to more limited callings, but for the main event, use unlimited product and not use first edition. I want to see first edition to exist as mostly your prize product, and then also if once you make it into, you know, your day 2 drafts are first edition. Your top 8s are first edition. And then obviously there's first edition that is sold, but I want that sold alongside unlimited. Maybe put a little bit more of a premium price point on first edition. Whatever you need to do to just make sure that collectability stays, because that's important to the fiscal future of this game and its collectability. The other thing that I'd like to see from LSS for Flesh and Blood this year is I want them to lean hard into their momentum. I want them to understand what they have and be bold. They've already announced a lot of things that seem bold, but there's nothing to say that they can't say, oh, did we say 1 million? We meant 5 million. There's nothing to say that they can't go, oh, here's some product we announced. Don't product fatigue us. Please don't product fatigue us. But on the same token, be bold, announce big things. Don't be scared of your own success, and really lean into what you've done, because it's really impressive. You're doing all this during a damn pandemic. And you're doing it in a game that you are 100% still just making sure everyone knows this is not an online game. This is meant to be played with people, and you're still growing like this. Lean in. Let's see what you can do. See if you turn the corner, so to speak, this year, and give it a real go. Give it a real shot. I would love to see it.
I think I agree with you. I think you could just, the super fan in me wants to just sell the farm. Let's make this year the year, and let's do it. Let's just go full send.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, we this is a little inside sausage making, I guess, for us, but we started this podcast thinking, a couple people probably want to listen to it, and we have way more than a couple of people listening to it.
Right.
And if us general idiots plus Abby from the Midwest are worth listening to talk about a game, that probably means either we're that entertaining, spoiler alert, we're really not, except for Abby, or this game's fucking great and people want more content and they want more surrounding this game, so let's just fucking do it. Come on. Completely agree.
Agreed.
Hey, the more people that play, the more people listen to my podcast.
Your podcast, huh?
Yeah. Well, mine.
Not our. You're just gonna keep that Y in there.
No, you know what?
Kill him.
I'm gonna put episode of this show is gonna be Jordan's podcast.
Jordan's podcast.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
Show notes updated.
It's fine, because he'll only make it a week, and then the Discord will just be pointing out all of the lies that he's told, and then we'll be back. So it's fine.
God, I love our Discord. Our Discord's the best.
Yeah, I did try to fire Logan this week, I guess. So.
It did not happen.
Did not.
Yeah. Lo and behold, here you are.
Yep. Nice try, asshole.
Abby, you got any Fab resolutions or Fab Christmas lists or?
No, I think I share with you one of the comments on the post that I 100% agree with is, getting less rare but still good equipment. I feel like as a new player or a newer player, I've actually never played. It's hard to want to get in. Just I'm gonna have to spend $300 for a skull cap, which is a fine card, but I don't think it's the best card ever. And I've spent $300 on it, and that's just one piece of my equipment. And they're all, the top equipment is expensive. So that is one thing I'd like to see, is kind of it doesn't need to be the best, but I would like to see it a rare equipment that's usable, rather than everything, being higher and then harder to get your hands around, especially if you're new and you're not committed to really shelling out the money for that.
I had to think that through really quick. So you're specifically thinking of a rare generic equipment, right? Or rare or majestic even.
Yeah.
Because right now we have Courage of Bladehold and Crater Fist, which are majestic equipment that are pretty damn good, but they're narrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
right,
yeah,
they're class specific or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be great if we just had a majestic hat that is maybe slightly, ever so slightly worse than skull cap in one way. I think
Yeah.
that would be great.
I think this game is good enough that they don't need to do this thing where they have to put good cards in chase slots. Because like when you put like like Tunic or Skullcap in the legendary slot, what you're saying is just like this will drive sales and will help people buy a bunch of product. I'm probably doing that regardless. You know, like I'm buying a case regardless of like whether your good card is in the rare or majestic slot or the legendary slot. I guess I don't feel like they need to do this like pack pushing. Sorry for all the pops. The pack pushing bit there, you know, and like the game is good enough that I'm going to buy a case, at least one case of every set, regardless of what the rarity distribution looks like.
Absolutely, and I don't. Outside of my general corpulence, I don't consider myself a whale in this game. I don't. I think that it's a good enough game that I want to own everything I would need to play. But I'm not going to chase down every cold foil and stuff like that. Although, listeners, if you happen to have a cold foil Snapdragon Scalers you want to come off of, it is the most embarrassing thing that I have to put out my equipment loadout to have this just really pedestrian piece of equipment. So if anybody has one they want to come off on, just hit me up in the Discord.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't consider myself that guy that's trying to BGS grade all their shit. Like I just want to play, and I'm still going to buy a case of everything. I have bought a case of everything. So sometimes multiples. And I still pop right into boxes because I want to prove that I run hot whenever I open a box of this game. So
and you don't disappoint.
I do not. I bring the heat. So yeah, I completely agree. Like just don't you don't have to. A Chase Majestic is still pretty damn hard to obtain in most sets. And it's probably good enough, right?
Yeah,
like, to just have it be that.
Yep. Yeah, like so the Crater's Fist you use as an example. I think it's a great one. It's in that class. It's a ubiquitous equipment. It's what is it, like $50? Like that feels like a good price point to me for like a staple equipment. Like $50 feels good. If you're curious, or if anybody is in the market, there is a Skullcap for $219 right now on TCG Player.
Pretty good.
That's really good. Yeah, the next cheapest is $277. So,
I would like to quickly point out that we have successfully and correctly used the words apocryphal, corpulent, and ubiquitous so far on this podcast. We are full of the words today.
Flying, yeah, we are. Look at us go.
Tell you what, I'm pretty turgid thinking about it.
Okay, boo. Abby,
Google that one.
Turgid.
Turgid.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I don't know what it is. Swollen and distended or congested.
There you go.
All right.
Well, apply that as you need.
Well,
apply that as you need. Oh God.
That's a pass for me. All right.
We're here to make friends. It's fine.
That's right. Hopefully that doesn't scare anyone off. All right, so we'll move on to our listener questions. We have 4 kind of questions that we're going to hit on today. The first one is from Sleeper Jackal. Do we see reprints of Art of War, CNC, and Enlightening Strike in Everfest? Or maybe just 1 or 2 of these key cards? And what impact does that have on supply?
I think this is a good Logan question.
Okay, finance guy it is.
Yeah, it's mostly from the impact on supply, yeah.
yeah, like you'll fuck this up somehow. But the so I think here is a good spot for LSS, especially since they have expanded the Majestic in this set, to find room for CNC +1. It, to me, depending on when this file went, I think it needs to be CNC and E-Strike. Those are heavy gates right now to play this game, as far as CNCs being $80, $90, $100 depending, and CNCs being 60-ish, whatever they are. And Art of Wars typically hover around and are not quite as heavily played. I think that that them being a yellow, like people just go, ew, yellow. But unless they're prison players, and then they're just like, yeah, yellow. But I think that this is a good spot for 2 of 3. And impact on supply, it's a supplemental set, so it's not going to be drafted. I don't know if the base at large really has any concept, because again, coming from Magic, we see it a ton, where a set being drafted en masse really cranks supply up and makes cards more readily available. We would see it whenever a special set came out with reprints in it. The reprints would cause, like, cards would still spike even though it's being reprinted, and then you'd wait for peak supply. And peak supply was usually after the first weekend it was being drafted. Or after the third weekend it was being drafted. That has such an enormous impact on supply, is a set being limited playable. So here you're going to get people buying boxes, maybe some come out as prize packs, but you're not going to draft Everfest in an Armory. You're not going to draft it in a Calling. So while it will have an impact on supply and you'll see some dips in price, it's not going to crater these cards to be, CNC goes from $90 to $20. That's not happening. I could easily see the first printing, not first edition, but first printing of CNC still being $80 and the Everfest one being $40 or $50. That sounds logical.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah. So I think that's where I am on that. I think we see 2. It could only be 1. If it is, it better be CNC or else it'll be riots in the street.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm glad that you have the finance brain in terms of that for games, because I never really thought about it in terms of peak supply or week 3 being kind of the break point. I would like to see, like you said, if they don't have at least CNC, we're fighting, but
yeah, we're throwing down.
Yeah, but
LSS, if you're listening, make sure it's in there.
I haven't been in a scrap in a while too, so
yeah,
it's been a while for me, but
I'm soft.
I'll get ready.
So. Yeah, do a Rocky montage.
Sides of beef. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, it's just gonna be like me shuffling cards, but I don't know half as much about it as you do, so that sounds reasonable to me. I always wonder what it would take to get a card. So you said it wouldn't see a price of a $100 card become a $20 card. What would it take for that to happen? Like a rarity change?
Yep, a rarity change, or that would be the biggest thing, honestly. Even with them increasing the number of Majestics, the ability to pull Majestics in this set, everything else, and you're still not going to hit that. You're not going to hit it hard enough to crater that price. People may panic sell a little bit, which is, if they do, I mean, this is my whatever that asshole is on TV that screams about stocks. This is my stonk advice for today. If you see CNC crater for even a second when people are panic selling, buy them all. But it's in a supplemental set like this, and again, you didn't have in other card games supplemental sets, right? Like everything was still draftable, playable, whatever.
Right.
You didn't just have them as sets to fill in the blanks in people's collections, which is one of the reasons I love these sets. But here specifically, I think that it would not crater the price, and the rebound will be right back to where it is right now for the current printing.
Gotcha. So absent a shift from Majestic to
rare
or rare. Yeah. And that would be wild, right? Like that would be the Wild West, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that would, if anybody gets a reference, that'd be Chronicles. Which is
the Magic reference.
Yeah, as far as the Magic reference goes, the easiest way to explain it is that Magic was a collectible card game. They realized that there was a lack of supply on some cards. They printed a set where they printed these cards in white borders, and it tanked the prices, and it drove the collector base absolutely crazy. and people were screaming about how the game was dead and the sky was falling, and it created created something we're not going to talk about on this podcast. But let's say it rhymes with deserved fist. So we're not going to talk about this on this podcast, though. So but it created a giant problem that is still a problem today.
Gotcha. So no $80 cards, going to be $20 cards.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Deal. All right. Our second question is from Kintigda. If I mispronounced that, my apologies. Any advice for new players attending their first local small CC event, maybe 8 to 10 players? Jordan, you want to start there?
Oh man, when he asked this in the Discord, it was kind of perfect because we were gonna talk already about like our first like our first like card game events, and so this was kind of a perfect like thing. I first went to a F&M for Magic, which like if you don't know what that is, it's basically just like an armory that was held on Friday nights, Friday Night Magic, and I had just broken up with like a longtime girlfriend or something. So I needed something to do and I had these Magic cards and went and played. And I got rules lawyered by like the worst guy in the shop. Like it set me off on this quest to figure out how to beat this guy. And my entire card playing career now has been to figure out how to beat the worst player in the shop who is rules lawyering new players. And I just remember being really nervous, being really frustrated, but at the same time like being like, oh man, like this is a really cool way to make friends and like be part of something different and get out of the house. And that turned out to be a lifelong infatuation for me. After saying that out loud, I don't know if that's a good story or not.
I think it's endemic of some of the issues we see in these social spaces where you played more than one match of Magic that night, and the one you held on to was the bad experience. And
definitely true.
That's what struck a chord. That's why it's so important. It's something I'll talk about in a little bit, but that's why there's something that's most important to me in gaming, especially card games. That I'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, like that's endemic of it. That is exactly what happens.
Yeah, and I say that, and I don't want to tell Kintigda that don't go or like be scared or like watch your back. Like that's not the message I want to communicate, because like I mean my life is like markedly different because I went to this and I went back, and like the first time I beat that guy felt so good, man. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
God, nothing. It might be better than like tournament wins and all that kind of stuff, dude. Honestly, but like by and large, people in these communities and spaces are like really welcoming. Like you can just walk up and be like, "Hey, I'm new. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing," and someone will help you and like will make the experience worth it. Go and have fun and just be prepared to lose a lot, but also be prepared to like learn a lot and have a good time. And hopefully your life changes like mine did. Hopefully you meet your best friends, and hopefully you come away with something that can keep you occupied from when you're 22 till when you're 30, you know?
What about you, Logan?
So I think that my advice for a player would be roughly the same as Jordan. You know, go expecting to have fun. Talk to people, be a sponge, be ready to absorb the information that you may not have considered or anything, or plays or lines or whatever. Take some notes, you know, do stuff like that. If you're looking to improve, otherwise, have fun. Just do your thing. First event experiences, how 25 years ago. I think that, you know, the game that I actually originally played competitively or at all competitively was the Star Wars CCG. And we had a group of us in my hometown of 6,000 people that maybe were three or four of us that played and had cards. And one time we decided that we were going to actually go try to, you know, go play an event. And we were all doing okay, but one of us was actually in a prime position to qualify for, I believe it was Nationals, and was in a semifinal game. Now, I'm going to explain something to you that is silly, that might sound silly, but it's funny, where this is the other side of the story where you're remembering like the epic things that happened, right? So in this case, the two decks were Death Star and Hoth, and which, if you're a Star Wars person, one is a planet, one is a thing that blows up planets. And said planet was exploded, which usually means game over. However, my buddy who was playing the light side deck saw it coming and put a bunch of characters on the Millennium Falcon and just flew around. And the purpose of the game is to banish somebody's entire deck, is to mill their entire deck. And so, there's no life totals. So the way you do that is you do a thing called force trading, where if you have presence at a site and your opponent doesn't, they have to mill cards equal to the number of force icons they have. And so he was just flying around, and the guy couldn't catch him, and just force trading him over and over and over again until he won. And I was just like, this is hilarious. The other one is, I was playing one of my first constructed events in Magic. I was playing a deck called Dragonstorm, which could kill people on as early as turn 1 sometimes. And playing against a guy who was always a little bit on the salty side and morose side. And I killed him on turn 2. And he goes, well, I mean, if you turn to me again, I'm just going to throw my cards in the dumpster and stop playing Magic. And then I look at my hand, I go, okay. And then I turn 1 him. And his head is in his hands. And I just go, on the bright side, you don't have to dumpster your cards because it wasn't turn 2.
Brutal, absolutely brutal.
Yeah, he dropped from the tournament. But
sure, I imagine.
It was somebody I knew. If it was somebody I didn't know, there's no way I pull that trigger. But
yeah, right. Of course.
Yeah, it was somebody I knew, so I was like, okay, well, the dagger can go in at this point. But yeah, it's again, have fun. Remember the epic things. Try to focus on the good. That's the biggest thing.
Ab, I'm curious about yours.
Let's bring this, because I feel like Abby has the heat here.
All right, so I'm gonna rant for a minute.
Oh, I get to lean back. I love it.
And I want to be very clear that this is not everybody. This is not, I'm going to say it's not super common, but it happens at basically every big event I go to, and it drives me absolutely insane. Talk to females that play this game the same way that you talk to men. Nothing pisses me off more than when I'm at a tournament and I get spoken to differently or treated differently, or like I walk up and it's, oh good, I'm playing a girl. Like nothing pisses me off more, and it happens far too often, and it makes me not want to go to big tournaments. I've never had an issue at a local event here in Columbus. Our group is, they talk to me the same way that they do everyone else, and we're all friends, so it's fine. But it pushes me off wanting to do big events because it's like just the way that people act. I am the same as Jordan and Logan. I'm not different. So don't ever treat a female differently is my biggest thing. It's happened at every event. Sometimes it's things that are said, the tone that's used, and it's just so infuriating. So don't be that person. That's my PSA for today. Just don't be that person. Not that I think you are, but I just want to make it clear to everybody, don't act like that. It's annoying, and no one likes it. It's just one of my biggest pet peeves, and every time it happens, I immediately tell Jordan, and he can just see how much it bothers me, because it's just I'm here playing the same game as everyone else with probably a lower skill set than most of the people in here. That's it.
I think that there's a couple of things I just want to say really quick. One of them being absolutely, yeah, just I've seen it happen. Not necessarily I've seen it happen to others, and yeah, it's appalling. Another thing is maybe we just get Abby a shirt that says "I can outdrink you," because she can. And the third thing is Abby's the only person on this podcast that has not dropped an F-bomb, and if she can get through that entire rant without saying "fuck," I don't think we're ever going to get her to turn the corner.
What's funny is I say it more than Jordan basically every day.
Full disclosure, I also edited out my last F-bomb because it was on a scratchy part of audio, so
the worst.
You were still the only.
I'm still the only. All right. Well, it is what it is. I'll wear that as a badge of honor.
But now that I've gotten that out, because we have made it 4 episodes and it has been on my mind since we decided that we were going to do a podcast. But I wanted to wait for it to come up in a good setting because it needs to be said. And I just want to make sure everyone knows. My advice to a new person, ask questions, call a judge, touch their cards and look at them. I mean, I can't go on, like, Logan and Jordan can spout out like a 10-card sequence of 3 rounds. And I'm like, I know 2 of those cards. And the rest of them, I'll pick it up and look at it. And that's, just do that. No one's going to yell at you for touching their cards. And if they do, that's another conversation. But you'll never learn if you just, like, sit back and just, oh, well, I don't know what this one does, so I guess I won't. Like, that's just not a good way to learn. And then call a judge if you ever have a question. Don't let somebody make you feel bad about doing it. That's why they're there.
Yeah, if a person's making you feel bad about calling a judge, call them twice, because they probably need a judge called at that point.
Yeah, for real. That's definitely true.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
It's a good TED Talk, though.
Question number 3. So this is a question from Jordan, actually. What should prize support at local events look like? I'll let Jordan kick that off because I know he's got a lot of thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, so for people that don't know other games, the Armory kit thing from Fab is unique in that, like, Magic doesn't necessarily having a kit for a store to run a tournament. Everybody pays their entry fee. The store pays out like prizes based on the number of entrants, either in store credit or actual cash or whatever, right? So Fab has these Armory kits, which like function as like most of the prize support. These kits are free to the store. So I don't know if people knew that or not, but your store doesn't pay for Armory kits. They just have to like be a Fab distributor to get Armory kits. I guess a listener of the show, Chris, he plays in a town about an hour north of us, and he was saying that his stores do, for every $5 entry, they add a pack of prize support. So if you have 10 players, there's 10 packs, and like that gets distributed based on like, you know, your wins or losses or whatever. The stores by me though don't do that. The only prize support for the most part is the Armory kit. So, you know, we had a 22 person Armory event a couple of weeks ago. And so the store, you know, got $140 versus like just giving out this free Armory kit. And there's some things I've been like weighing in my mind with that. One, like, okay, the space for the store definitely is valuable, and like stores are allowed to like want compensated for people spending time in their spaces. But like, it's also pretty standard in this industry that like you can just go into your local game store and play for free. So it's really weird to then like charge for that under the guise of an event. But I guess sorry, I've just kind of did like a little rant there. But what should Fab's prize support look like for local events? Is it weird that I think it's weird that stores only give out the Armory kit and then charge money? Is that strange? Like it feels strange to me to like take money to give out this free thing when like the win right is like make my $5 buy a $3.50 pack and like put that towards the prize support. So then like you're still making more money on the pack than you would if you had just sold it at retail, and then your players get something, you know. I don't know. It feels weird to me.
So locally, we have it both ways. So we have one store when they're doing an Armory event that really doesn't dive into other prize support, but when they like when they hold a draft, like they don't overcharge for it or anything like that. And so yeah, it's kind of a same scenario. It's a fairly inexpensive tournament to enter. It's just, but they only really use the Armory as prize support. There's another store where it's a pack and a half per player for prizes, regardless if it's Armory or not. So if you're talking, and and the entry fees are not appreciably higher. So if you're talking about which one, from my perspective, is better for us. I mean, obviously, it's the more prizes. I also understand that one of these stores is wildly successful, has been around for a very long time, and kind of can afford to more do things that way. Their everything is, their labor costs are entirely offset by everything else they do. So somebody going and taking the time to make sure they get the armory kits and stuff like that is something that's part of their regular job duties. Whereas the smaller store, maybe that's costing them more time, and they just don't have necessarily the same type of ability to do the prize support as we would consider it. I don't know. But I think that there is something that does feel off when prize support is done as this free thing. But you're right, the space is valuable, but at what point is, you get 20 players paying $5 equals $100. So you're throw in 20 packs at, cost, which is, call it $250 a pack, is $50. So you're getting $50 for your space rental. Seems okay. I don't know if it's great, but I think it's fine, especially when these people are also in your store buying and looking and doing other things.
Yeah, I think $50 for space rental is great, especially when you consider that like the space is free otherwise, right? Like if you went to your store's armory event while it was happening and didn't play the event, right? And just like sat there and like played on the side, you wouldn't be charged for the space. So like I don't know. It like I don't want to make it seem worse than it is because of like a store is holding this game and whatever, like that's great. But at least by me, the Fab events are like ran by volunteers, like community builders. They're not like associated with the store outside of, they probably just like have a good relationship with the store, right?
Right.
I say that, and I actually don't know if one of the guys works for the store or not. I don't think he does, but I know at least the two of the three stores on my mind, the person running the event is not associated with the store. So like that labor is free. The space is free. The kit is free. It seems weird for them to take $5, at the end of the day.
I understand that.
Yeah. And somebody had mentioned that to me and it didn't bother me until I knew about it. And then I was like, wait a minute, that does sound strange. And I made a lot of the arguments that I was just talking about. Like, well, I was like, well, the space. And this person was like, well, I mean, the space is never. Have you ever been to a game store that's like, hey, $5 to sit at this table? And you're like, well, no. And like, but yeah, I mean, like, I guess my understanding of the LGS space was that like people being in the store relates to money being spent. Which I'm a sucker. I definitely buy things at a store that I wouldn't buy because I'm in there for an event, So I don't know. Maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, but it definitely does seem weird to see a store rake in like $140, give out like 6 promos on a playmat that they got for free. And that'd be it.
At minimum, it's food for thought, right? Like,
yeah. Like if you're a store owner or operator and you're listening to this, like, am I getting my players actually getting value for playing in this event? And maybe it's a good conversation to have with your store owner if you're a player. Because like on one hand is the guy that just wants to test for events, it becomes very like not unreasonable, but it loses some value to play in these events when I could just like play 10 games with my friends on this at the same time, and not play in the structured event and test better, and save $5, if the event itself doesn't actually give back value.
Yeah, I mean, that tracks. That makes sense to me. Abby, what do you think on that? I mean, I know sometimes you're in the same events as Jordan, so.
Well, I guess my first question, I know we talked about this previously. LSS sets a price max. Is that correct?
For what?
On stuff?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so, but they don't set like a minimum.
I don't think so.
I think their minimum is just like their distributors like cost to them. Yeah, like whatever the store buys their stuff for would be the min.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear what is being said. However, I don't know. I guess it doesn't bother me. Like, local game stores already have it hard enough for the most part. So, like, what's $5 for me? I don't know. It doesn't really faze me at all.
Yeah, there was one of the stores here that actually does very well. And I guess I don't know if this fits exactly in this conversation, but when the pandemic hit, they were in the process of purchasing a much larger space to turn into a massive game room that can hold 150 players comfortably. And obviously now there's no revenue coming in. So they actually had a Kickstarter to build the new game room. And they funded it in like no time because everybody's like, yeah, we use that space. Here's money. So I don't know. Like it is hard for local game stores in this climate and has been hard for local game stores in this climate. But I don't know that that's part of the calculus when it comes to LSS giving you the thing to run the event. I mean, giving you the promotional tools to have this event. It's probably a good thing that there are strict rules on vendors and stores selling those promos, because otherwise there are going to be LGSs that just wouldn't give them out. And that's horrible to say out loud, but having seen it in other spaces, I also know it's just true. So I do like that LSS does have controls and knobs in place to make sure that we don't get it's the best way to put this, kind of taken through the ringer. But at the same time, yeah, maybe there should just be prize support because, you are paying money. So I don't know where I fall on it. I see Abby's point. I see Jordan's point. I play in stores literally every week that do both.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess to be clear, in the scenario where if you paid $5 and like that put a pack into the system, you're basically buying a pack, right? Like the store isn't getting nothing. The store's selling 20 packs if the same 20 people come. So the argument that like the player or the store gets kind of nothing if they give prize support is sort of a miss from me. But I definitely also understand the plight of the brick and mortar small business in 2021, 2022. So, yeah, I don't know. The Kickstarter thing's wild to me. I wonder, that'd be a kind of a fun Kickstarter to read.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like I said, but the place is absolutely phenomenal. And I loudly and proudly will say that, yes, I 100% donated to that Kickstarter. So,
yeah.
Our final question is I'm going to take credit for, because there's not often things that I can't. So what is our favorite format and why? We posted a poll on the Discord to get everyone else's feedback. And the favorite was limited. And then I'll have Logan start first and we'll kind of talk through what is our favorite and why.
It's limited. And the why is pretty simple. Every game in limited is different. You could be playing against virtually anything, and the headspace of deck building and playing the game are so different, and having to get into one and then get into the other provides a very unique challenge when it comes to playing a game. And I just don't think you can do better. In a good limited environment is, the top of the mountain, and even a medium limited environment is often as good or better than a good constructed environment in my mind, because again, there's a lot of rewards. There's a lot of interesting things that happen, interesting interactions for, cards that nobody ever see. Like somebody plays a wounding blow and people have to pick it up and read because what the hell's a wounding blow? And and stuff like that. And that's fun for me. that's interesting for me because you're seeing things that don't normally happen in your more rock, paper, scissorsy constructed games.
I think that's 100% my answer. The games are different. They feel like less of a high roll in terms of like matchups and what deck lists you brought to your event. I like them from a new player entry standpoint. That once you learn the machinations of like draft or building a sealed pool, you don't have to have that $300 Arcanite Skull Cap, right? You don't have to have these Enlightened Strikes or these. You don't care if a Command and Conquer is getting a reprint to be more affordable because you're going to crack your 6 boosters or do your draft just like anybody else. So there's a bunch of reasons. I think Logan hit the gameplay ones on the head for sure, and then I like it from the new player perspective as well.
As democratic as a baseball box score.
Is democratic as a baseball box. That's a good quote. That's one of my favorite baseball quotes.
It is a very good one. For me, Limited's definitely my favorite for 2 reasons. One, not coming from a Magic background, card costs really like screw me over. Like I can't wrap my head around spending $250 on a card that I could literally rip in 3 seconds. It blows my mind.
We can play flip and rip with if you want to do.
Man.
So
Go ahead.
when you're doing limited, everybody's coming to the table the same, right? You're going to crack cards and people are going to get better cards, but I'm not shelling out $3,000 to pay to have the elite deck. We paid $70 to enter in this event. Everybody the same. The other thing, and Jordan makes fun of me for this, I cannot play Classic Constructed because I can't shuffle the deck. It's too many cards and the deck is too big for my hands. And it stresses me out. My baby hands can't do it. I cannot shuffle them. I will never play in a Classic Constructed event because I cannot shuffle the deck. It stresses me out.
I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard not to just laugh.
Jordan makes fun of I can't do it. I can't. I have tried like 8 different ways of shuffling. I cannot do it. My hands are too small.
Oh my god. That's there are so many things that I want to say, and even I have limits on what I will say publicly on a podcast.
Appreciate that.
But
I don't like editing podcasts.
My god.
If you could not, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll wait till Craig's been kicked out of the recording, and then I'll go ahead and hit some of those up because, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's some good ones. There's some bangers.
There's some real bangers.
Funny. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Funny. Blitz and draft are my wife's formats because of smaller deck sizes.
She's a carny. Like, all right.
Listen,
sorry, had to get one in.
Pretty funny.
Giveaway. So I lied last week. Insert another correction corner. We're going to do our next giveaway after the first of the year. It's just been hectic with the holidays and everything going on. So we will have the announcement as to what we're giving away next week, episode 5. And
Cynical Dragon, if you could hit us up, that would be great. So we can get you your deck box.
We do like to give away the stuff that we say we're going to give away.
Yeah, we don't want to really sit on it. We want to ship it out. So
it'd be wildly uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, a Cynical Dragon, we need your help and your address. So please DM us. Thank you.
Hey, can I get one more thing in real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Is it real quick?
It'll not real quick. You know me, I talk a lot. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is I alluded to this up top when I'm talking about the first 6 event experiences, is if you do anything or if you take anything away from anything that I say about events, know this, that the most important thing to me in a match of any card game is to be a good opponent, is to be somebody that anyone can sit across from, feel comfortable, feel, that they can be social if they want to be, they can be quiet if they want to be, And at the end of the game or the end of the match, it's going to be the same. Everything's going to be fine. You had a good time. I had a good time. And I've had some good finishes in card games. I've had some real ups. Nothing makes me happier than when I'm in a room of 1,000 people and somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, your name's Logan, right?" Yeah. Now I've got a lot of things going in my head right now. It's like, okay, how drunk was I? And where were we? And what did I say? And they're like, we played in a Grand Prix 4 years ago. And I just want to say, you were the most fun opponent I ever had. Nothing makes me feel better. Nothing is more important to me. Try to be that person, because when we're talking about these experiences, when we're talking about when people take away that negative and they really grab onto it and they really, that's the thing that festers inside of them. Don't give that to them. Give them the opposite. Give them the best feeling that they can have. Like, don't, even if you feel salty, don't be salty to them. Be salty about what happened, not them. Understand that, there are feel bads and they're going to happen, but that shouldn't stop you from being the best you that you can be in the moment for the person that's across from you.
That's really good advice.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's a very good point.
I just think like it does feel good when someone says, "Hey, you were pleasant to play against," like win or loss, or like even if they don't remember the result, that's even better. Like, and I definitely like you mentioned this earlier. My first event, I remember the bad stuff. I don't remember literally anything else. Right?
Yeah.
This
This actually happened to me at a Magic pre-release, like the last pre-release. Gentleman walked up to me, and I didn't recognize him, and I felt bad. And he was just like, "Yeah, we played in this pre-release 3 years ago, and you were great." And I'm just like, "Oh, you must have won." He's like, "No, you beat my ass." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Yeah." Then you sat me down, you rebuilt my deck, you explained what was working and what was working and why, and how we could help things, help it move along and do what you wanted to do. And then I won the rest of my rounds. I'm like, I did a thing. Great.
That's really cool. And like that, I think that's like a good goal. Like, because I can definitely get like be a salty Saurus, depending on the event. So I think that's a good goal reminder too, to just be like, hey, like it's gonna be fine, man. How you treat people matters more than the result.
Yep, every time.
1,000%. 1,000%. All right. Well, as always, you can find us on Twitter at FlushPod, and you can join our Discord, where it's not a disco, I promise. The link will be in the show notes. It is always going off, so definitely something that you'll want to get in if you want to keep talking about this game. Give us a 5-star review on Apple, or like us on YouTube, or subscribe on any of the podcast platforms. I think there's a couple other ways that I can't think of at the moment. If you're old school, you can shoot us an email at fleshandpod@gmail.com. You can find me in the Discord, or you can tweet at me at AbbyD83 on Twitter. Jordan and Logan are also tweeting somewhere. I'll let them tell you where, because I don't remember.
I am at I'm Jerman. That's I am JORMAN.
I everywhere. I am just at Logan Peterson, PETERSEN, because I do not believe in internet anonymity. And if I say it, I want to make sure that I'm held to the fire when I'm just a complete dipshit.
As always, thank you for listening, and we will be back next week. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.